Good evening, televiewers. Welcome to today's edition of Prime Hour on My Media Prime. Tuesday's edition are dedicated to issues touching on our relationships and marriages. This evening, we're going to be asking the question as to whether it is time to make DNA test compulsory for couples so as to curb cheating amongst members of the family, that the husband or the wife are cheating from one another. And if time permits, we also are going to be looking at a second topic that has to do with the declining value of this very precious institution called marriage. Today, the institution has been banalized because people no longer carry themselves as either heads, mothers and fathers of an institution that is set in place by God to mold children that are supposed to change the face of our planet. We are discussing these two topics with our panelists. Apostle Ambe Valentine Gua, permanent consultant, is in the house. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening, my co-panelists. Good evening, Cameroonians, and welcome to today's edition. I've been away for some time, but I'm here today to discuss this very sensitive topic, DNA. That is a brouhaha.
Okay. Apostle Alfred Essingue is also here with us. We're glad to have you with us, Apostle.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening, Apostle Ambe. Welcome to this particular session, and Reverend Ken. And I know Sister Yvette is in Bamenda, Madam Asanji. I want to say that it's another special day again today, and we're going to get an opportunity to talk about some sensitive issues. Please, stay tuned.
Reverend Tato Kenneth is also amongst us this evening. Good evening, Reverend. We're glad to have you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leon. Good evening. Good evening to Apostle Ambe, Apostle Essingue. Good evening to our viewers. We are so glad to be here, and we believe that this evening again is going to be another wonderful one. It's well time for us to share these things, and we believe after we have shared, somebody's relationship, somebody's mindset vis-a-vis marriage is going to actually be transformed.
We are going to be having contributions from Bamenda, Northwest Regional Capital, from Mrs. Asanji, Yvette, who is always on standby to contribute in shaping our relationships and marriages across Cameroon, Africa, and the world. Apostle Ambe Valentine, we're talking about curbing cheating among couples and asking the question whether it is time to make compulsory the DNA test.
Yeah, Mr. Leo, this DNA stuff has been discussed across many different platforms, and from my research, I've realized that the medical personnel are no longer truthful with DNA reports, based on the fact that it is preferable for somebody to grow a family that he did not father children, rather than separating and suspending the children in the middle of the sea. And I think even in the medical domain, doctors are not truthful anymore with DNA results. That is to say, they see the consequences of DNA more detrimental than keeping the family together. And wisdom has given them the ability also to negotiate from behind without telling couples that you don't need to disclose if the child belongs to a man, if the child belongs to a woman, or a man if at all the DNA reports say so. That will help to tear families or to scatter families, and also it has helped to kill people. The result of DNA has caused more damages than the secret of the children being somebody else's child. So I think to preserve a family and to protect them, the DNA stuff should not be made compulsory. And secondly, DNA is not the only means through which you can know if somebody is cheating, because not every relationship resorts to childbearing, and it is in childbearing we know through DNA that somebody has cheated. But what of a case where a woman is cheating, very skillful, she aborts, or better still, take pills that stops her from getting pregnant? What about the one that also they do not allow the men to pour the sperm inside of them? People have devised so many strategies in order to avoid pregnancy lately, and I do not think DNA is a solution to checking the paternity of children. But nevertheless, doctors, I think, are becoming wiser and far more better in their reasoning. by not disclosing results of DNA, even if it sounds or it happens to be positive.
That's what you are saying, but there are many persons who have used the DNA to travel abroad and also attain certain objectives, because the paternity test is required at many levels.
Of course, Mr. Liu.
So if you say
that is a rare case. That's a rare case
where doctors are lying.
Yes, that's a rare case.
It's not common.
Yes, it's not common.
Okay, because our audience to feel that when you go for a paternity DNA test, the doctors are going to deceive you. Yes, but why do we actually see a lot of cheating that always raises the suspicion that I am not faithful to my wife may not be faithful to me, and there is that possibility for my wife bringing in a child from out there? What is causing almost this growing tendency of couples wanting to cheat on each other?
Actually, Mr. Leo, the growing society is also coming with growing problems and growing institutions which cannot be managed. Of course, marriage is one of them. Marriage has become a really heavy burden to so many families and whatever. A lot of people who got married and they were not ready, and some of them who got married and found out that what they got married to cannot really meet up with what they really want. You know, we say that a lot of young girls get into marriage today with the ambition of just having the name that they are married, and in the process they just, you know, find themselves, they cannot cope with who they find themselves in the home, so they are bound to go to the streets and start doing some kind of funny things. And then with the advent of these Facebook and WhatsApp issues where we talk about a hookup, a lot of people have gone into the streets through their phones, through the WhatsApp, and they are there now communicating, and before you know it, a lady goes out for one thing or the other. But the irony behind it is we know very well that ladies always understand and know their periods and know when they should be pregnant and when they should not be pregnant. They know very well. So finally, what happens that they got to this point where they could be pregnant for a man or whatever, and then with the alarming rate of diseases and sicknesses out there, why don't they think that it is appropriate or necessary for them to use protections or maybe condoms and all the others? They don't get to that. But I want to say that a lot of men have to really beef up. That is why if you check the internet right now, you will see most people are coming up with drugs that had to say manpower. You know, everything you want to turn your television, your this thing, you see manpower. You want to turn, you see manpower. You want to see, because of what? It is a challenge. It is a big problem. At first it was a secret, but now it's very open. People go in for manpower, and because they want to satisfy a woman, and of course it's not necessarily manpower that can help you. You can be erected, you can be strong, but you don't even know what to do and how to go about it. And at the end of the day, you cannot be able to meet up what that lady wants. The next thing is she finds herself in the streets. The next thing is that man also has himself in the streets because of the increasing rate at which women refuse the men from touching them, because they want to use material things and physical things for able to like a bargain to say, if you don't buy this for me, I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to allow my body for you to touch or whatever, and it's causing a lot of problems. Cheating now is just so common because it has become so easy with the advent of Facebook and WhatsApp. It has become so easy. You can stay at the confines of your home and you reach 1,000 men, 1,000 women without necessarily going out of your house. And then one day that you're going maybe for a travel or whatever, you get about 3 or 4 of them, or maybe you have a 4 or stops. That is everywhere. Now this thing is not really going to be looked at only at the level of unfaithfulness. We're also going to be looking at the things that works in our body that pushes us to some kind of things, especially with the modern day kind of artificial foods that people eat that sparks their hormones and makes them to be very active towards, you know, certain things. And before you know it, everybody wants to go closer to a woman, everybody wants to go closer to a man. Even the church is not free now. A lot of things are happening. So that's where faithfulness is coming on, from so many small things, so many small things that people are neglecting, but it's causing a lot of people to go out there. So Mr. Leo, that is it.
Now, what could be the rate of the rate at which people father children that are not? Yes, that is you are a father to maybe your friends' kids unknown to you, or maybe
neighbors.
Yes, neighbors. Yes. What is the rape?
No, I think this is a growing phenomenon.
Okay.
Today's society is a growing phenomenon.
And the women know him.
Yeah, they know.
Some women actually desire to have a child with somebody they admire.
The truth is that it's unfortunate for the women that they are the ones who cannot disprove, or who, in fact, whose cheating cannot be. In fact, that's for the men. The men's own cannot be detected easily. For example, you can be in the quarter with a woman that has been impregnated by your husband. You don't know that it's your husband who impregnated the lady.
Yeah.
Yes, but for the woman, take for granted that a woman's husband has been away for about 1 year, and then within the period of time the woman is pregnant. It will be very clear that the woman cheated, but the man's own will not really be. The truth is that it is a growing phenomenon, and to me, this is a reflection of the degree to which our moral values are degrading in society. Today's society is suffering from a lot of moral degradation, and this is not reflected only in cheating. We are talking cheating here tonight because we think it is an evil. We are talking it because we think this is a vice when it comes to marital relationships or relationships in general. But when you also look at other aspects of society, the way people kill with ease and impunity, the way people just get up to steal, the way, in fact, evil has just taken a great toll in society, which is a reflection of the fact that our moral values are actually shrinking. We are no longer at that level where we were yesterday. And this is where I think we are supposed to start tackling this issue. I think the major dimension or the major cause of this thing has to do with spiritual and moral factors. If people got to the point where they cherish their relationship with God, if people got to the point where they are conscious of the fact that the society can only thrive and people can only have social peace when there is morality and justice, there is going to be at least a reduction in this issue of cheating. You see, in the past, it used to be a taboo when they hear that somebody has cheated, and in fact, it was not as common as we have today. We hear, in fact, in yesterday when you see that a woman has cheated on her husband, it will be a taboo. But today, the whole thing is almost becoming normal, and there is a justification, one justification or the other, which makes it look like it is just it was just an error, and it is nothing as serious as we appear to put it. That's where our society has reached today. Our society has gotten to a point where evil is gradually becoming a normality. Evil is gradually becoming something that people will have to just live with and cope with, looking for one excuse or the other to cover it, to make it to look very, very light. That is where we are. And if we cannot address it from this perspective, we are going to look at DNA as a panacea. It will not help in any way, because, as Apostle Ambe said, there are people who will do it very skillfully, and you don't know that. In fact, ni vu ni connu, as the Frenchman says. People are going to go and, for example, as we said, it means that, for example, if you have a certain circumference, you go around and do DNA tests for all the women who delivered in that area to find out whether it's your husband who impregnated them or not. For the case of a man, because it's for the woman, they can do DNA tests for the children to be able to find out, to investigate whether they are the man.
In the case of the woman, it is clear that
that's what I'm saying, Mr. Leo. It is very clear. But for the man, what about the women that the man has gone and impregnated here and there? So it becomes I remember one time I was in Yaoundé. I don't remember what document I went to one office. So one guy, he was about to travel to the UK. So one of the documents that was needed was a paternity test. So the guy was so tense when the test was the result was about to come out. He was so tense. Finally, when he came out and saw that his father is his father, the man rejoiced. He was so happy. He was so glad about the whole thing. And I think, and this is one of the reasons where
so many men may just have been given to their fathers.
There are some people whom they just told them that this is your father, and by virtue of the fact that you grew up, maybe the man brought up, you're calling him daddy, and he was providing for you, and all, that's your father. But if they want to go in fact, the rate is very, very alarming. That's the truth of it.
Yes.
The truth is that the rate is alarming, and it's on the rise. When people are fathering children that are not their children, the children are not from their loins. So that is for me, as I've said, it is a reflection of the moral situation.
Is it normal?
It's not normal, but that is the society is trying to force. It's trying to tell us, accept this as a normality. Accept this as a normality. That's what society is trying to let us know.
But when you guys say we shouldn't go for it, it shouldn't be made compulsory, it means you guys are endorsing it. Don't you think that if a woman knows that we must do a paternity test for every child that they deliver. You're going to have everything.
No, Mr. Leo, look at the constraints. One, how many people will afford? It's not something that is free. It's not malaria test that you go and pay 1,000 francs with a strip and then they do it and tell you have your malaria positive or not. This is something that has to do with hundreds of thousands. So when you go and spend for the first child, second, imagine you have 4 children. It means that you have to set aside a budget of 1 point something million to go and do paternity test.
Yeah, but this could be done by, it becomes a policy in a nation. It's like what is happening with these guys who are suffering from dialysis. Normally speaking, it will be very expensive, but the government takes care of all of yes, to help reshape this growing phenomenon that you say is alarming, which means that if we go by what you're saying, majority of so many persons are living with
children that are not theirs.
Yes.
Mr. Leo.
Because there are some statistics here that I will not want to read out because it's actually alarming.
Yes, alarming, yes. Of course. The truth is, the price tag for DNA is a message. It's a message on its own. The cost for the test is telling you that we don't want it.
We don't want it. Exactly.
There are many ways to say no to a thing. Just like some traditions put exorbitant bride prices. In other words, they want to promote sex out of wedlock because of a particular deity they are worshiping in that community that promotes sex out of wedlock. But you see, they won't tell you directly that we are promoting fornication and adultery. They will hang it on the bride price. There are communities that if you go there, only the bride price will scare you. You will prefer sleeping with a lady, giving birth to children, but the process of getting married officially becomes very expensive. And because of the price of the bride price, you would rather stay with her like cohabitation or probably just use her like a girlfriend. That's a way of communicating in that community that we don't want legal marriages. We don't promote. You can give birth to our children, but you cannot marry them officially. It's the same way the medical field sat down and saw how complex the DNA stuff is. They decided to put exorbitant cost to carry out that test. That if you hear only the test, you'll be discouraged to even go for it because the amount of money involved is so heavy. Another way the government has also helped to fight against divorce is that the process to divorce is very complicated than getting married. So they will not tell that we don't want divorce, but they have put some very stringent rules that if you want to engage in divorce, on the way you will get tired. You will visit court and visit court and visit court and visit court, and then when you go and put some of the measures put on ground, you will say, I'd rather stay this one than to go through all this process. So a lot of things have been limited in the society based on the laws guiding them and the costs attached to them. So I think even the medical field and the medical personnel who are the specialists in this domain do not find it necessary to carry out DNA tests because the consequences after the discovery has led to a lot of damages. You could see a very good family. A man is not aware that the children are not his children, but they are comfortably living in peace. He's sponsoring the children, and the children know he's their father, and they grow peacefully. Nobody threatens their existence. Then suddenly one day a child is sick. Then they are supposed to donate blood. In that coincidence, in the course of the check of the blood group, only to find out that the man's blood does not tally with that of the child. Then now investigations start going on to realize that if this child is not the man's child, then there's a possibility that the rest of the children are not the man's children. The man will be forced now to carry out the test. Most people end up having stroke. Some have had a car and die. Family sometimes is torn apart. Some children even desert their mother for betraying the man who has been their father over their lives for years. So you realize that that simple test has destroyed a family, destroyed a community, and instead caused a lot of casualties. At the end, some of those children end up becoming delinquent because that paternal and maternal care that brought them under the same roof is no longer there. Sometimes families separate, they are torn apart. Sometimes the children realize that among the 4 of them, 2 came from their father, 2 did not come from their father. It creates now a rift between the two of them. Now, if you look and you put at the consequences attached to the results from the DNA test, you would just prefer not to conduct the test in order to avoid the spillover and the consequences, the fallout of the test. So that's the reason why we, as per me, I will not accept, I will not guarantee, and I will not tolerate, I will not endorse this DNA stuff becoming compulsory, except for individuals who want to take it upon themselves. And if government wants this thing to be very, very easy to go about, they may make the price very cheap. That's the first thing. So you can walk into a medical center and then you have your 10,000 francs, you can run a DNA test.
Okay, let's get the first reaction from Ms. Asanji. Yvette, tell us what she thinks about the paternity DNA test.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening to my co-panelists. Special greetings to our televiewers. Mr. Leo, when you ask a man, why are you cheating? He tells you, my wife is disrespectful, my wife is not submissive. Okay. Now you ask a woman who is cheating, why are you cheating? She says, my husband does not give me the attention that I need, and I also deserve to be happy. My husband does not provide for me financially. I call all of these flimsy excuses. Why? There are men whom their wives are not respectful, yet they have not resorted to cheating. There are women whom, you know, the husband does not give them the attention or provide for them financially. They have not equally resorted to cheating. So these are mere excuses. Is cheating the only way to solve this problem? No. Does cheating even resolve this problem? No. Honestly, cheating does not resolve the problem. So, when it comes to cheating, there is one thing that I always say. It is lack of self-control. Now, cheating might mean different things to different people. Maybe to some, if I've not committed the act, I've not cheated. To another, flirting on phone is already cheating. But I want to say that if you can text and delete messages, if you can call and delete calls, call history, if you can put your WhatsApp on disappearing messages after 24 hours, if you can flirt with others, you are already cheating. Cheating is not just the act itself, it is all of this put together. Now, before you're even telling somebody, hey, I love you at this, you've already, in your mind, you've already, thought about a lot of things, doing a lot of things with them. This, in all, engulfs what cheating is all about. Now, some men want to deny that, hey, I'm just playing around, I'm just catching fun, I'm just catching cruise. No, you are cheating. If you are discussing with female friends, females that you are flirting with, I'm not saying that you should not have female friends. Anyway, it depends on couples. So if you have friends of the opposite sex that you flirt with, you are cheating, even if you've not slept with them. So if there are things that you can do them and delete them because you don't want your husband or your wife to see, you are cheating. Why will you always think that they will not understand what you're saying? Are you not speaking plain English? Okay, now if I say I love you, and you maybe your husband sees it or your wife sees it, and you say, no, that's not what I meant. What did you mean? So people should try to, they try to make cheating look like, it's just the act itself. Now, people have cheated in different ways. Coming now to the real thing, how we can curb cheating, I would say that let's first of all look at the reasons or some of the causes, push factors of cheating. I want to start with singles, because if we concentrate on talking about couples solving the problem of cheating, and we don't equally drill the singles on avoiding, getting married for the right reasons, cheating will still be a problem even in the nearest future. So I want to say that singles should start by doing what? Marrying for the right reasons. Parents should equally allow children choose their spouses. We have seen cases where parents choose spouses for people, or parents said you must marry from our tribe. They are tribalistic. And it worked for the children, but later on they went and they were cheating with those that they loved before the marriage. So people should marry for the right reasons. Now, if you first of all marry for the right reasons, at least cheating will somehow be minimized. The possibilities of it will be minimized. So let us start with our singles. Let the singles understand that marrying somebody because you have a child with them is a wrong reason. Marrying because you are pregnant for somebody or you impregnated somebody is a wrong reason. Marrying somebody because they have money, I think ladies, this is where ladies have got it all wrong. It's wrong reasons. You know what? You marry someone because they have money. Tomorrow you will see somebody that has the cash more than the person you married to. So will you keep marrying and going forward? There are a lot of wrong reasons for marriage. So I want to start by saying that singles in particular, they should not marry for the wrong reasons. They should marry for the right reasons. Now, when you marry for the right reasons, the probability of cheating will be minimized, I think, even to 70%.
The probability is going to be minimized to 70%, but we are talking about DNA. I just found out via DNA that paternity test that my child is not mine. What should I do? Yes, because he says we should not do it. But
Okay.
there are situations where you cannot do without. For example, you want your children to travel and then you are imposed. In such cases, what do you do? Because according to Apostle Ambe, it's better to live without me. But what if you live to an advanced age where you are more prone to the cardiac arrest or whatever, when you would have saved yourself at that situation earlier, no?
While we are trying to say that DNA poses a lot of problems to homes and marriages, we are also considering the fact that it's good to know paternity. It's good to know. It's really good to know. Because raising children that you come to discover someday, somehow, some kind, even not through DNA, you can discover. You know, you can discover either by a blood group and all the like, you can discover that that's not your child. And you begin to go up and down, becomes a problem. So I think that after you discover such a thing, it is now left for you to face the moments of truth. There is always this period called the moments of truth where you can be able to face it. Sometimes it's really good to deny the aspect. That's why you begin to go through what we call the adjustment process, where you have to deny the aspect. You know, for that beginning, just take it that no, it's not true. Gradually, you're going to see how you can come out of it. You're going to see how you can, you know, navigate out of that situation. Just like any other problem that comes to family, just like any problem that comes to marriage, just like a situation where maybe you caught your wife on your matrimonial bed with another man, just like any other thing. You can either have two decisions to make. Either you leave and then see how to sort out yourself, then come back again to build your family, or you decide to separate. But we will always advise that some of these children that you have lived with for a very long time, it is always wise you begin to tell them they are still your children. Because I still see myself nurturing and nursing other children who are not even my children. And I'm happy. And then why not that one that, you know, have lived with me and have called me father and have, you know, showed me the love and the concern, and every day you come, they embrace you, they are happy that you came around and so on. And then all of a sudden they are telling you that they cannot walk. I tell you that sometimes try to see how to embrace it. And if there is anything you have to do or the person you have to deny, maybe the wife, not the child. Yes, for me, that's what I think. Because the child is innocent, but the wife is not innocent. And sometimes you know that these things can be mistakes. It cannot really be intentional. Some women may find themselves into it, maybe when they were aroused and then they could not manage it, or someone, you know, they played with, and then before they discovered they were opening themselves to the person, and maybe a friend or an old-time ex comes around and then play with them before you discover they are pregnant, and they don't know how to face you or to tell you. And many of them only realize that they were pregnant when it was around 2 months old and something like that. There are some women that they are 3 months old, they don't even know that they are pregnant. A lot of them, I don't know, because I believe that any woman who does that kind of a thing and is sure that she's going to be pregnant, she would either take some pills to be able to clear off this thing, or she would do something else to handle it. But If you see a woman can leave a child for that length of time, know that one, either it's an ex and then you still love the ex, or it's someone promising marriage to her and then promising heaven and earth to her, hoping that she will leave you someday and come and marry him. So she better keep that child as a link or a source of connection. In those cases, it can work like that. But in the general case, I would say that the children of these particular situations after a DNA test are always innocent. They are not the ones that brought that themselves to the world. They are not the one that played that particular game. So trying to be hard on them, it's like trying to tell yourself that I am inhuman, I don't care about human beings, I don't care about orphans, I don't care about the street children, I don't care about the children who don't have fathers and mothers on the streets. That's exactly what you'll be trying to say. I think the problem you have here is with the wife. The main problem is with the wife. That's why when you're going back to handle these problems, please, you must be careful before you go for a DNA test. You must have been educated, you must have been counseled, you must have been given an advice that this particular thing can come out to be this way. That is why there are some programs on television, there are some programs on the internet that are very, very healthy for DNA issues. There are programs like judges who judge, families, and then before they go to that, they had already given them advice and counsel so that in case this thing turns like this, they should not become enemies or having problems. And even after the DNA test, there are experts that are supposed to go take you through counseling. If not, why do you go for such a thing? Because you can kill yourself and you can die because you went and discovered something and it's like a shock and it can hit you so hard on your chest, and before you know it, you are down or you got a stroke. That is exactly what this thing is all about. The experts who are in charge of the DNA tests and everything should have counseling services that are counseling people before and after the results, so that people will not be overwhelmed by what they are seeing. And I will still insist, go for a DNA test and to try to prove the paternity of a child. The truth is that the women get angry. Therefore, you don't trust me. Therefore, it is only DNA test that can tell you that these children are your children. And from that day, problems can come out in your home. That's why we always say, don't go like you just want to know things. Go through the right processes. Go to counselors, experts who are experts in handling such crises. They will help you. They will help you. Because trying to handle it alone, like you're trying to say that you went for a DNA test and realized that the child was not your own. What did your experts tell you? What did your counselors tell you? That is what is more important. And if they did not tell you anything, please look for a counselor right now and talk to them and try to see how they could help you so that you can come to terms with your family again, or you can see how to handle that child and make that child loved and more loved than even the one you would have given birth to. Some of these things happen, and they happen every other day. Please don't think that you are going to be the special one that it is happening to you today. It is happening, like Mr. Liu just said here, that the statistics of this paternity test is really, really high. A lot of people are unfaithful. A lot of women are unfaithful because obviously these particular situations are women that are always finding themselves in this situation, because they're the ones that go to sleep with their boyfriend and coming to sleep with their husband, or go to sleep with their ex and coming to sleep with their husband at the same time. So they get confused. They don't know who is who. They don't know who did what. But at least intelligent women know themselves now. You know when you had this thing and you know what you did. Why do you just go there and you don't take precautions and some kind of things? So my advice is, before you get to any DNA test, to any DNA checkup, you must make sure that you follow the counseling before and the counseling after, so that you don't find yourself in the hole, or finding yourself killing somebody, because you can use that anger to kill a woman. You can use that anger to even destroy the life of the child, and it becomes a problem to your own self. That's exactly what I think.
Okay, I'll take a few messages, and then maybe there are some worries that the audience will want to get clarified on. This one says, Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm Austin, writing from Sokapam in Bamboo. I always enjoy your programs. Good evening to everyone watching me, and all of us are here from Bamboo this evening. I hope to be there one day. Good evening to you all in the studio. I'm grateful this DNA stuff that is destroying our society. It has been brought up for discussion. I don't stand for it, even though it is both scientifically and medically proven good, but I can not go for it. Our customs and cultural values are dying because of all this. So despite what explanation, I cannot do a DNA test. After all, in our culture, we believe that it is the mother who knows the father of her child or children. Thank you, Apostle Ambe, for always being dynamic. Thanks. Fonju Alenu Prince, writing from Tico. Greetings, Mr. Liu. Cheating is rampant nowadays because women get married to men who are ready and continue cheating with men they love, while men marry good mothers to their future kids and continue chasing beautiful ladies. I think DNA is not something we should embrace. Even by law and customs, children are fruits of a marriage, not necessarily fruits of the spouse. Alain is writing from Kigali. Good evening should start by enacting laws. The government should start by enacting laws that any married person caught cheating should pay fines and be in prison. Any married woman who gets pregnant from another man, apart from her husband, should be in prison. Okay, what about the men who also impregnate other women? Okay, it is thanks to the writtenness of sex that has resulted to this social degradation called cheating. It's like people get into relationship, marriage just for sex and nothing more. Why will cheating not top the chart? Just like one of the panelists rightly said, it boils down to our moral values and how firm we hold on to them. Do DNA tests from now till thy kingdom come will change if those moral values aren't firmly attached to our very being. Morals, Mr. Liu, morals. Scott Achanyi is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu and panelists. This issue of DNA is so excruciating. That's why today some grandmother treat their daughters' children far more better than their sons' children. Some of them are not sure about their sons' children if they are really there. Mr. Liu, women are extremely happy when they wear naked dresses, both married and unmarried, and that alone attracts a lot of men. Women are deceived with material cash. Some men of God are also very fast in this domain. Paul is writing from that. Also, DNA is just one of the many marital issues, but the root is cheating, and the law should come in with sanctions. Thank you. I appreciate your programs, Mr. Liu. More grace. Hello. I have a child with my wife a year before marriage. I have been diagnosed with a varicocele and a low semen quality 3 months after the marriage. I intend to ask for a DNA test, and only thinking that the child is not mine stresses me so deep. What do you recommend? You're going to answer him, eh? A good evening to you all in the studio. My worry is with the issue of compulsory DNA tests delete cheating within couples. Nanji Adolf is writing from Kumba, but just to share a thought on this, a man who trusts his wife will not go for a DNA test. Should only be for couples who don't trust themselves. Yes, but this guy says
that 3 months after marriage.
No, actually, he has a child with this lady.
Yes, but that 3 months after the marriage, it was diagnosed he has a varicocele and low semen production kind of challenge. Yes, this
so
has.
He suspects something.
He's suspecting that should not be his child. The child he has with it should not be his child. So, in this case, it is up to him to take a decision, because nobody will decide for him. And if I were in his place, I would not go for no DNA test. Yeah.
But he will live with. But now, if you know that you may not be able to impregnate, and then this child is said to be a child, how do you live with it? Just agree. You agree.
Let him accept it, so, and then play the, because I used to say that parenthood has two dimensions. One, the procreation, and the upbringing. Those are two dimensions of procreation, of parenthood. There are people who have given birth to children, but they are not responsible for the upbringing of the children. Then there are people who are bringing up children who are not out, they are not children delivered by them. So this is something that we must understand. There is a way he can show this child love, bring the child up in a responsible way, and end up, having that affection that he can have with the child. He can do that. But if you want to choose to go into the investigations, the thing may always stress you up, and since you know your condition, one, there is usually a kind of stigma that society places on it. When they end up knowing, then you'll be looking at you like this is a man who could not impregnate a woman until the neighbor helped him. That is a stigma that can be attached to such a thing, and then you will not enter into distress. Maybe the love you already shown the child up to now, you won't show the child again. The kind of relationship you had with this woman, you will not have again. And so the best thing at times is just to close your eyes on some of these things and move on. It will disturb you too much if it is clear. It is very clear that this child or these children are not your children. Now, I want to say that a community or people like the Com people is like they foresaw this thing and decided to put a mechanism in place, because when you look at their succession the policy, let me call it this, the culture for succession, it looks like they already had in mind that there is a possibility within the framework of marriage that people are going to maybe cheat. And they now say, if a man gets married to a woman and has children with this woman and dies tomorrow, it is not these children he has with this woman that will inherit his property. So they make their succession matrilineal. They think a child that is born by my sister is clear enough that this child
carries my blood.
But now there is still a challenge in that. How far are you sure that was that your sister's child, or your sister was your father's child? So there was still going to be, it will just be that the blood of the mother has a kind of link on that. So to be entering into the intricacies of these things is going to keep bringing distress, as Apostle Ambe said from the onset. It's going to keep bringing some kind of complications that will be stressing us for nothing. The money you want to go and pay to do the DNA test, use in bringing up that child. Forget about it. Bring up the child and see what the future holds for both you, the woman, and the child. If you want to keep entering into the intricacies, there are times you may even go and have a kind of results that will cost your health and even cost your life. I remember there was this video that was making rounds on social media where one papa was in fact he stood at the bank of a river, wanted to jump to jump into the ocean in Nigeria. He wanted to jump into the water, and what was his not that he wanted to, he actually jumped into it. And what was his reason? That he had 8 children with a woman, and at the end it was that all the 8 children were none of them was his child. So he couldn't bear it after he has brought up 8 children and discovered not. For me, that is not wise. Yeah, accept it, see how you can overcome any form of stigma, overcome any challenge within you, and show the children more affection, bring them up, and let life continue. Okay. You will not kill yourself because your wife has cheated on you.
Good evening to you, Agingi Pride. You say you are watching live from Oshe Village. Fang Emeline Zoo watching live from whom? Is it from Three Corners or GTC Junction? Ngala Evelyn Ambong Mimi says I'm watching from Yaoundé. Jennifer, and for me, is watching from Yaoundé. Fombang is watching from Douala. Joyvis Adoba says, in order to be at peace with your body and soul, I strongly advise that this issue of DNA should be undermined for the simple sake of being alive, because the rate of cheating in marriage is alarming. Pros says, watching live from Yaoundé. Greetings to all panelists, especially Apostle Ambe Shu. Akongwe says, I'm watching from Betwa. Yves Ngwa says, watching live from Bamuka in Dopa. Akerengu says, Sheferi, Tamtam Mendon, Yaoundé. Good evening to all of you watching us from the nation's capital. Eko Beme Timely says, I'm watching from Melong 2. And Ta Ephraim says, watching from Douala Bonamu Sadi, not far from here. Joyvis Doba says, good evening to all the panelists. I'm watching live from Bafusam. El Nasiru watching live from Kumba. Very interesting topic with my favorite speaker. Okay. For Immaculate is following live from Yaoundé. Apostle Ambe, Valentine Gua, somebody raised the issue that in the African culture, and another one talked about the context of the African culture. Another person actually says that it is very common for the grandmothers to be deeply in love with the children of the daughters. Are we saying that there is something African, in our African culture, we know that there is something that is happening, yet we play blind to it?
There is nothing in the African culture that could be a litmus test to prove if some children are part of a family or not. Because he said in the African culture, it is a woman that knows the paternity of a child. Mm-hmm. That's a proverb. It's not an authentic test that can be used as a measuring rod to ascertain if a woman is the one that knows the sex of a child. If a woman is the one that knows...
No, the father of the child.
The father of the child, the woman that knows the father of the child. If it's the woman that knows the father of the child, what about the man? How can a man be fathering children that he does not know he's the one that has the children? That's the reason why science came to play. Science has come to give us the understanding that at least there is a test to prove if you are the owner of those children or not. I think some of these African proverbs sometimes they becloud our minds and just make us get excited to come right because we see things on television. A woman knowing the paternity of a child and the man not knowing doesn't make sense. Every man should be convinced that these children are his children. And my reason for insisting that we should bury this idea of DNA, because it has a lot of consequences. I still repeat.
Yeah, but let's just come back to what you just said. You said a woman knowing and the man not knowing.
Yes.
It's very possible. The woman knows, don't know, when she's fertile, and maybe the man may not know, and this lady may sleep with one or two persons, and you, the man, you think that one of these days, because you also slept, but the woman knows very well that this child belongs to this man. So the woman may know. It's very certain.
It's very, very certain.
Yes.
The issue is this: most women that collect pregnancy from outside always force their husband to have intercourse with them within that period. Mm-hmm. So that by the time the pregnancy is growing, she will have a particular period to tell that we had sex this time.
Yes, so the woman knows, and you are unaware.
The woman knows.
Mm-hmm.
Most women know. Like what the guy said, that it is a woman that knows the paternity of a child. Mm-hmm. That is very certain. But you see, it should not be, how do I put it? It should not be a standard through which we endorse in the African society that a woman has a right to know the paternity of a child, while the man does not know. The man and the woman have equal rights over the child, and they are supposed to know if the child came from both of them or not.
Now,
so
you are against the paternity test.
Yes.
How do you, as the man, know that these kids are your kids?
What I'm trying to say
because
is
the woman, by virtue of the fact that she slept with this man on this particular day, is certain that this child belongs to
this man, of course.
Yes. How do you know, you the man?
In most cases, people they reflect their children. The result is nameless. You give birth to a child, you can look at the child, you will know this one is my blood. We are talking about an exception. To every rule, there's an exception. But in most cases, when you give birth to a child, the child is born. Once you enter the hospital, there is a witness within you that this is my blood. Because blood is thicker than water. Number two, there are certain features on you that would definitely be found on that child. That's the truth. Okay, I know Apostle Singer's son. Seeing the son the very first, I don't need any DNA. It's like there was a guy they put on the Facebook, he had swollen nose and swollen lip like that. And they say, the man was asking for DNA. Do you need DNA? In that kind of case. You look at the child's nose, the child's mouth, the child's ears is exactly carbon copy. And then they say, do you need DNA? So those are natural circumstances where you can look at, this is my child. That's one of the ways the man can know that this is my child. But in a situation where the man is not aware, and probably the child is not his, I advise that you rather play blind and totally ignorant to it because, oh God. That man you were talking that who tried to drown himself, as a matter of fact, who jumped into the mainland and bridge in Lagos, that man was already of age. such an investment, because one of the things I want to say here today is this: truly, paternity is not when you impregnate a woman. Paternity is actually when you take up responsibilities. We should be able to distinguish those who distribute sperm and those who are really fathers. Fatherhood is not the ability to impregnate a woman, it's the acceptance of responsibility. And I think if a man has accepted that responsibility to take care of a child from the womb till that child grows, he's more of a father than the person who dropped the sperm. This is what we have to plant in the minds of people. Now, your investment in that child's life should console you. The fact that the child knows you as a father should console you. The fact that you are not contesting with anybody over the child should console you, because from all ramifications, the child is yours. I know of men who have gotten married to women who were pregnant for another man. The men were aware that this woman was pregnant, yet they accepted the woman, continued from where the man stopped. They gave birth to the child, they groomed the child, grew up the child, and the child came in the family as part of the family. So why will you suddenly look for investment where you have invested for almost 30 to 40 years, then you choose to die because the act of impregnating the woman was not done by you? Do you know how many years invested in that woman? And a matter of fact, the children know you as their father.
Yeah, but the problem may necessarily not be that of the children or you. You also are asking yourselves how your wife would cheat on you 8 times, having 8 children from some other person and living with you.
If your wife can cheat on you for 8 children,
yes,
there's a possibility that you are unable to impregnate her.
Yes, but
now listen, listen, Mr. Lowe, which I think, even though religiously speaking, judicially speaking, legally speaking, it is wrong, but to some extent, societal approach, the woman has benefited you because you are unproductive. No, I'm saying it as a clergy.
That's a clear thing.
It's a fact. You are unproductive. By some stroke of luck, this woman has gone and brought children to your name that you were supposed to have died as a nobody without any legacy on earth. Then this woman goes out and brings children in the house, knowing fully well that she has tried to collect that thing from you on several occasions and realize that you are impotent. What of when a man has an accident, some surgeries are corrected on him, and then he cannot impregnate a woman? Okay, what if of a case where a man knows that he cannot impregnate a woman? Then he blindfolds a woman in the name of love, marries that woman, brings her in the house, and he knows he cannot impregnate her. The woman sees first year, second year, third year, and doesn't see children. Then goes and collects it outside and bring. You, the man, will you judge that woman and kill her? Because there are very wicked men also who know their condition, yes, who know their state of health, yet they deceive a woman and bring in the house and then keep that woman to be going through psychological trauma. People are insulting her, she is unproductive, she cannot give birth to children. I had a case in Limbe of a man that chased a girl out of the house when I was a young pastor there, 2003, 2004. The man said the entire family of the girl was beating that girl in the house that she's unproductive, that she cannot conceive. They drove her out. She went out. She said, Pastor, they are dreaming as a sister. Your head better pass that marriage. Take your head come off first. She went out. Somebody saw her, admire her, collected her. Within 1 year, she gave birth to twins. Then when they went to check, it was their son. That was unproductive. So when we are talking about women that go out to cheat, there are also circumstances that have pushed women because of the level of insult, humiliation. A man comes, he's unable to impregnate a woman, marries her, brings in the house, and then sits in quiet. Or somehow enter into court and sell their manhood.
Yes.
They marry you, put you there, you become like a laughing stock. He knows what is wrong, but he cannot expose it. Then the family is insulting you. What will a woman do? In order to defend herself and take away that shame, she goes out and collects the child. You know very well that those children are not your children, but you are quiet, you. I'm talking from all angles. This thing I'm talking, they happen. Don't they happen? They happen. Yes, so are you going to kill a woman in that kind of circumstance? No. But my advice is this: even if the man is productive, a man cannot be productive and a woman give birth to 8 children outside. It's not possible.
It's not possible.
It's not. There must be some mixture there. Either he had 3 or 4, and then others have their own share of the national cake. And then finally now, the thing got exposed.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Liu. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the panelists. DNA shouldn't be made compulsory, but men should go for it if they feel they need to, else the U.S. Embassy might help them do it if necessary. Lister Montana is writing from Yaoundé, Mr. Liu, the panelists, and good evening. Thank you for working towards peace in our communities. The report from Bamenda, self-control is excellent. It's excellent. Let's focus on how we can control ourselves, okay? Ngala Divine is writing from Ambe. Okay, again, good evening, Mr. Liu and panelists. The topic of DNA is a bit complicated, but I support DNA test if the man is doubtful of a particular child. I, for one, can go in for it, but won't chase the child away just to know exactly that this child I'm sponsoring and taking care of is not my own. And if we openly condemn these women who are cheats, will double their efforts. Kuma Rodney, watching from Yaoundé, DNA is necessary sometimes because even the women will sometimes insult the husband. The child is not his. Abdullah Iliasu from Ambe Northwest says a very interesting topic. I think it is important to make it compulsory. Good evening to you in the studio. I am Venial watching from Konda village. This is necessary because our ladies today really have to be trusted. What an interesting topic. Good evening, great men in the house. I'm watching from Moyuka. I love Prime so much. Auntie Caro from Moyuka. Good evening to you. Good evening in the studio, Mr. Liu. I don't like the tradition. What if the child was changed in the hospital? Good evening, Mr. Liu. DNA test should not be made compulsory because it can separate families. Do you know that there is what we call human chimera, that DNA will say a child isn't yours, but which is okay? We are going to go back to Bamenda to get the second intervention from Mrs. Asanji.
Okay, Mr. Leo, let us look at some of the possible push factors that can push people into cheating. Sometimes cheating can take place when there are opportunities. Opportunities like an opposite sex boss traveling with an opposite sex worker, or opposite sex colleagues traveling, maybe for work purposes. You can see that these people they will spend a lot of time together. They will experience a lot of new things together, a kind of adventure together. So if you're not careful, they can get themselves into something. Now, another thing that can also be like an opportunity is when you see a man hanging out late at night, or a woman hanging out late at night, alone without your partner. You can be exposed to others of the opposite sex, and cheating can take place. But of course, I always look at it like this will happen to people who are not self-disciplined. Because no matter how you travel with somebody, as long as you are self-disciplined, you must not get into sex. Okay, we still have a lot of things that could push maybe your spouse to cheat. Talk about neglected sex life. A couple whose sex life is neglected, their sex life is down. They don't enjoy sex anymore. Things are not moving. I mean, it's not flowing. One can be tempted, to sex. And another thing is lack of emotional bond. Human beings like to get bond with somebody. It's just like if I'm bonded with my husband, there's no way I can easily get bond with another person. But when this emotional bond is lacking, the possibility that one can be exposed to bond with another opposite sex who has things that you admire is high. Then we have loss of, maybe there's no erotic love. Love has different dimensions. There's one we call, or different types. There's one we call the eros, the erotic love. Is that love that makes you attracted to your spouse? Now, in the presence of all the other love, types of love, if the erotic love is lacking, you see that you cannot look at your spouse and feel attracted to them, that you might want to have intimacy with them. So lack of erotic love, or if erotic love has died, there's possibility that one can, be pushed out there or be attracted out there to someone else and cheating can come up. Now, while some people can cheat with no strings attached, like some men can do, some people cheat with a lot of emotions attached. But people might cheat for different push factors. Another thing might be no communication. Maybe you're the kind of person that longs for friendship in your marriage. Maybe you're the kind of person that you long for, to communicate with your spouse. I mean, virtually on everything. But anytime you come up with something, they shut you down. Or maybe they are not always available. There are times that you might have a lot of burdens, but just sharing them with someone who can understand you is enough. I mean, you don't even need a solution. You just need to share, and somebody gets what you're feeling, what you're going through at that moment in time. So when couples shut each other down, or they're not available to talk, or maybe they don't communicate honestly what their needs are, cheating can come in. Equally, we have people don't understand each other's, like couples may not understand each other's love language. What is it that makes your spouse feel loved? If you ask this question to many, some might not even get it. Okay, I was counseling a guy whom the wife has left his home, and so he was asking me, "Ma'am, at this stage where my wife has left because I was cheating, I was hurting her without knowing. I did not know the gravity of what I was doing. But after she's now packed out of the house, that I'm beginning to realize myself." Okay. Now, he was asking that giving gifts to this woman, will it help the woman forgive him? Because he said he has spent the 6 months that the wife is out, he has spent more than when the wife was at home. I mean, for the four years that the wife was at home, he has spent more than when the wife was at home, because he's trying to give gifts to see if the woman is going to forgive him. Unfortunately, he was shocked when I told him that gifts might not even solve the problem. If receiving gifts is not her love language, you're wasting your time. Some women don't even need your gift; they just want your attention, your physical presence, you talking with them, being with them. Let them feel you emotionally connected. Some just like you to appreciate what they're doing, maybe words of affirmation. "Hey babe, thank you for this thing you did to me." Some like maybe assistance at home. So if you're not speaking the right love language to your spouse, you're barely wasting your time. So some couples don't understand their love languages, which pushes them maybe to get that love language from someone else, and it is a serious push factor for cheating to take place. Mr. Leo, I will come back again to talk to give my last take on this.
Mr. Asanji, okay, we are waiting for your last participation on today's edition of the program. This issue, now, what in the case like what he was saying, that we know that these children are not yours, and somebody actually comes out to say, "These are my children, I want them." How do you handle such a situation? You call the elders, you call the church.
So sometimes you don't even need another man to come out to tell you that that is not your child or this or this. Some of the women even use insults directly, and they insult you. If a man picking himself, you are picking, if you born picking. And when they say all those kind of things, you don't even know. Some women say those things like that indirectly and everything, and they are ready to connive with any other man that wants to come and take the child. The man is better, because if, let's say, she went out but with a man who is well-to-do, no, he prefers that this child should know the father so that the child will be fine, that kind of a thing. But legally speaking, it's not accepted when somebody has paid a dowry in the course of the marriage. You come and say that you came and you had a child. That's a criminal offense.
Yes, according to the law, the child belongs to
the man who is married, who is legally married, because it is within the gap of when they signed the marriage in the court. So that makes this particular child the child of the man who is legally married. But now it would depend on him whether he wants to still keep the child, because some of these children, it get as it be. So one feed be when I throw here, we throw here, play the man say me take and go. So one feed be way, you know, many of them, some of them can be, but the ones who are very intelligent and very obedient, very loving, caring, and nice, people will never want them to go. You see, because I cannot imagine today somebody just get up and say that one of my children is not my child. It's it's his own. You know, that kind of a thing. The truth is, the child is already part of me. For you to come and take that child is going to become a very good, except we come to a consensus to say that, okay, the woman said that, please, this is what really happened. I didn't really plan this, but it happened this way and happened this way. I feel that you should give this child to the rightful owner of this thing. This thing is consensus. Love can do many things, because if you can still keep the woman, then to handle that issue of the child will not be any problem. But if you can say, no, you don't want the woman again and whatever, it means that the woman is going to go with the child, which means that the child doesn't belong to you again. So we should know that some of these things are very complicated. The law, the culture, the religion, all of those have a lot to play. You will see the religion will teach you something like forgive, love, accept the children. They are your children. That's what religion will teach you. But the law will tell you other things. And then the culture will also tell you other things. That it's a taboo. It's a taboo. You have to pay fine. You have to go through some scrutinies and some other things. So that is it. So we are now saying that you cannot just get up and go and take a child from a legally married family to say that because you got the wife pregnant and because of that you can claim the child at any moment. No, except you don't want the wife again and you think that that particular child also cannot be your child. Obviously the person that is responsible for that child will take over the child. So that is how it is. But I believe that lawyers can say this better and lawyers can be able to talk more about this better. But we, from our everyday to day counseling, we think we can advise that when you know as a woman that that particular child is not the child of your husband, please muster the courage to be able to talk one-on-one before the man goes for a DNA test and discover by himself. Because if a man goes for a DNA test and discover by himself, the case becomes worse. I know there are some men that when you are in a joyful moment and whatever, you can bring such cases and bring it before them. And this time you may not come alone. You may go and meet some elderly people. You may meet some spiritual people. You may meet some village elders to be able to confront him and tell him about the child, that that particular child doesn't belong to him. Because the truth is that if you do it alone, the man can go out of hand and maybe harm you or anything. So it is always advised that you get someone who is spiritual, someone who is elderly, maybe a group of people that can be able to confront your husband to channel those kind of messages so that the husband begin to accept that this child is the child of my wife, not necessarily my child, but the child of my wife. So if I'm living with my wife, obviously I have to live with the child. That is how all these things come in. But I know some women are wicked, because you will really know these things and you'll be insulting the man and whatever, and then you are still relating with the father of the child. Say that picking, so number 3 picking, you know, say they picking no. I don't tell you, say they are picking the same money. You don't know woman, the way the woman they do. Woman, when a woman wants to do things, hi, you go learn work. Satan go, she don't dang, he take paper, he learn work for a back because because I'm telling you, sometimes a woman will be nailing you. You are crying, but they are nailing you. You are shouting, but they are nailing you. You are dying, but they are nailing you. That is how it is. You really know it, but you are still calling, you are calling another person. Come and begin to take care of your child. The balog man for the house, enough to take care for Pekin. So you better come and begin to take care of your child. And the man outside, the foolish man, will be doing what? Taking care of that particular child, not knowing what the law says about, situations like that. So it's always good for us to know what the law says about certain situations in the countries that we know what to do. And it's always good to consult lawyers. It's always good to consult specialists and counselors and then social workers to be able to talk to you about situations of this nature. Don't be so ignorant. Don't be so foolish in such a way that you know nothing about the society and how situations work. Always get legal counsel. Always get, moral counsel. Always get spiritual advice in situations of life.
Good evening to you all. It's Elizabeth from Boya cheaters, especially adulterers, should be fined and imprisoned for some years, please. I support Apostle Essingue. Before going for DNA, please visit counselors, and even after the results face the reality and see a counselor for any therapy, especially those that are not remorseful and repentant. Domestic violence increases because cheaters are not seriously brought to book, okay? Many more persons are calling for punishment. Hello, Mr. Leo. I had a child before I got married to my husband, and my husband adopted the child. Meanwhile, the child had been baptized. Now the child birth certificate and baptismal card bear two different information. She's about to write GC ordinary level next year. I am worried about the child's future bearing two fathers on her document. The truth is that the biological father is nowhere to be found. Please, what can I do in this situation? Can you just get to me after the program? You should talk to a counselor to help you out in that situation. You guys should talk and find the best way out of the situation. Good evening, sir. I have a video here that a lady just got married to a man in their church, which the pastor of the church is the girl's father going to this married. The lady is a virgin. 3 months after, the lady discovers that the man has no manhood because they was making love to this lady only with his hands and other ways done. The lady asked the man what is the problem, only when that this told the lady that he was born without manhood. So this lady took the matter to the parents who happens to be the pastor, but the father said she just has to stay in the marriage because of the family name of the church, that the Bible didn't want a divide. So this lady is asking what should she do. She needs help. Okay, it's clear. This man, that is deception, huh? That's case of deception.
Yeah, it's deception, but the issue is that when people want to get married and you see they should follow premarital counseling, well, they don't know, because how come the premarital hair screening was done without it being discovered? That's what we do. We don't allow people to go and do it wherever they want. We have somebody you prescribe to go and do your premarital hair screening. If there's such a thing, it will be unveiled. That's why.
But in this situation, what happens? She has to live with it.
Well, it is difficult to give a blanket advice on it. It's something to talk with both parties and be able to come out with a clear situation.
Greetings, Mr. Liu. I'm Brother Sama Nestor, a gospel artist based in Yaoundé. All the TV programs were like yours, our country would have been a better place. Your program have educated a lot of Cameroonians who were completely empty in the head. Keep on the good work, okay? Thank you very much. I wanted to chip in my own contribution, but this my uncle with a shorthand tie should have said it all. He's becoming more popular in this program by the day. Also extend my greetings to Apostle Ambe. Whenever I miss this program, I cry like the week. My mother, Mama Elizabeth Eke, was your guest, okay? Good evening, Mr. Leo. I'm in support of the DNA test. Women are dying in silence. We have many homes with this issue of women bringing your energy child into your home. This is some of the reasons you see conflicts between brothers and sisters from one womb, not knowing that the mother is the cause of all that what's going on due to the fact that they are not from one father. So to conclude, I prefer a DNA test is to be done so things could be sorted out in order not to have conflicts. We say blood is thicker than water. We are Africans. This thing has really destroyed our culture. Tata is writing from Kribi. But now, in the case where persons actually agree, should they agree to go and do a test? And once it is discovered that this lady had 1 or 2 children from away, can that trust actually still exist? Because on this platform, everybody is saying that if you discover it, just agree, go by it. Does that not also cut or destroy the trust level in the home?
Yeah, honestly, Mr. Leo, the trust is actually breached when such a thing is discovered, and you will now be looking out for ways of rebuilding trust. In this case, you have to look at how to rebuild trust, because you won't live with your wife, and after a few years or thereabout, you discover that the children that you thought were your children are no longer your children, and then you still trust the woman the way you trusted her before this discovery. But now, notwithstanding, I think the management between a couple, the way they manage themselves, is more important than this issue of wanting to investigate whether a child is somebody's child or not. If a couple manages themselves well, they can have a child among them, which is not that's a woman can bring a child into that marriage, which is not the man's child, and everything goes smoothly without anybody ever raising an eyebrow. The way people manage themselves is actually a call for consent. Let's take, for example, we have had contributions like from Apostle Essingue, who says legally, for example, they say legally the child is my child. Now, what about a case where, okay, they have gone and done the DNA test, and it shows that the child is not your child, but legally, that is the documentation, the birth certificate bears your name as the father's child. Now, this is what will happen in some cases. The woman and the children will team up. Maybe if the man is more well-to-do than you, they will team up and say, no, they prefer to move with that man, and then you become the third person singular in that relationship. In such a case, you'll be having more challenges with yourself than if you people had managed yourself well and have a blissful relationship between you and your wife. You can accept certain things because you and your wife are pulling on well. Most of the times, these things come because nobody, any human being, wants to feel that they are not cheated. That is actually the reason. If a man discovers that the child is not his child, and then the woman is ready to say, okay, please, let's just maintain it this way, it is because the man feels that he was cheated upon. And if a man has invested, as Apostle Ambe say, a man has invested on the child, and then tomorrow another person is coming to claim fatherhood on the child or the children, the man will feel cheated because he has invested material, financial, and maybe time and other stuff on the child. So one thing I want to recommend is that when people get married, however it turns out, there is no perfect marriage out there. As it turns out, the best thing to do is make sure you manage yourselves well. Make sure there is a bonding, that you ensure that your energy is driven towards the bonding, so that you build a solid marital bond. If some of these things happen, it will not lead to a point where you end up having a distress there, because there are people who will discover these things and high blood pressure will set in. They will discover it, and some people will even prefer to take up their lives, as we talk about that part. Somebody will decide to take away his life away. So if people can manage yourselves well and see that there is nothing that will come to put this marriage under this kind of thing, it will go. Yeah.
How do we avoid a situation where people get so frustrated? Is it also advisable for the woman to, I don't know, look for a way to open up to the man in this case, or you just allow the man to discover it anytime opportunity presents itself?
This has to do with the individual in question. If I live with you for years, I should be able to know your temperament. And I should be able to know the kind of information you can handle. There are individuals who cannot handle some information, so you should be able to know the kind of person you are living with. You may disclose certain information, and that's the end of your life. You may disclose to some person, it ends the marriage. You may disclose it, it ends the person's own life. So the issue is, you should be able to know the kind of person you are living with, and then be able to know how to manage certain information around that individual. There are hot-tempered persons. For instance, there's a way you can say a man manage some crisis. You'll be able to understand that, okay, if I take the boldness to disclose this to him, he can be able to accommodate me and stay with me, and then be able to cover the information. But there are persons, you know their temperaments. If you tell that kind of thing, it may end your life, end the man's life, or terminate the child's life. We've seen individuals who have not even, their wives have not even had a child children from outside, yet just the idea that she's having an affair with somebody else, the man butchers the woman into pieces. Such an individual you cannot dare to disclose that kind of information to. It's the truth. And if you are living with a partner in the house, you know the partner's temperament, I prefer you go and confide in someone else. Okay. If you really want to really confess, because it's not normally sometimes advisable to expose your life to such a danger. So I believe if a woman intends to actually disclose the truth to a husband, the woman should either understand the way the person operates or move to some elderly person in the man's family who can be able to handle the situation and then tell that I don't want to die with this guilt inside of me. I'm coming to you because you're the family head and I know you can manage this. This is what happened. This is the temptation I had, and then I got this child. I don't know how to tell my husband that I don't have peace and I don't want to die with it within me. That you can be able to manage, because the thing about information is based on the temperament of the individuals saying it and the individuals also receiving the information. It's delicate. I can't risk my life when I know that the person I'm living with is a hot-tempered person, and then I go and attend that kind of, it can be the end of my life that night. That's how delicate some men are. And then some persons can also take collars and chop off the child's neck, knowing fully whether it's not his child. What about you, the woman? It could be your last day in that house. It's even better if you send me away. But some men will not send you away, they will kill you. Why should marriage take away my life on earth? It shouldn't. I think it's a mistake I have made. I can still pick up the broken pieces of my life. I can still go back to God and make amends with God. But you should not terminate my life because I'm married to you, because I've made a mistake. Because sometimes our bodies will make us do things that we do not really wish to do. That's why most people sometimes regret after they mess up. Because your drive, your emotion, your feelings, as a matter of fact, if it's not because of the grace of God to really put yourself under subjection, you can't really hold yourself against this thing. Let's not talk as if people are carrying bad metals on their body. These are people with blood flowing in their veins. They have feelings, they have emotion, they have attachment. And to be sincere, biologically speaking, the man by nature is polygamous. A man by nature. How can a man be receiving millions of sperm cells to fertilize one egg? It tells that he has the sperm cells loaded in him, looking for where to discharge the thing. That's his nature.
Yeah, but we are talking about the most cases of, it's a lady who is doing this thing now.
No, what I'm saying is this. You don't seem to get what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this, that a woman is the one that cheats and brings in children.
Yeah.
Is that true? Yeah. Now, this woman is unable to disclose information to a man because of the man's temperament. That's how some men are. If you're unable to understand a man's attitude, mind the way you disclose information to them. What of men who beat their wives and kill them without even them cheating outside? Such a person, will you be bold enough to go and tell him that you even cheated? Talk about bringing a child in the house. They will finish with you.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and to all the wonderful panelists. It's always interesting with you at 7 p.m. on weekdays. DNA should be done if in doubt. Mr. Asanji has made a wonderful point. Men should learn to bond with their wives and communicate with them so Satan doesn't come around and deceive her like in the Garden of Eden. Daisy is writing from Kumba. Good evening to you, Daisy. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Thank you for this topic. Above is a video of a woman who is lamenting for getting married to a man without his manhood. If there is honesty before marriage, DNA will have no place. This is Kuna writing from Ndop. In a situation where, I don't know, whether an illness, because it may also be because the child falls sick and then discovering. In this situation where it is discovered that this child is not yours, in the place of the woman, how do you make amends? How do you explain?
Yeah, that depends if the woman acknowledges that it is true cheating that she got that child. Because somebody had also raised the point of it can be in the hospital.